YouTube, it's Faye, and for today's video I'm going to show you the easiest door card removal ever, and that is on the second generation Toyota Tacoma. So here goes. Now for the door panel removal itself, you really only need two tools. I like to use this little pocket screwdriver. Sometimes you might need two, depending on how good you are at removing those clips, and then a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. Now number 2 just refers to the size of the head. The most common sizes are 1, 2, and 3, with 1 being really small, and 3 being quite big, and 2 probably being the most common size. So definitely get yourself a number 2. Okay, for example, this little guy right here is a number 1. This is a number 2, so you can sort of see the difference there. And then this guy right here is a number 3. So look at the difference between number 2 and number 3, and number 1 and number 3. Now, if you're going to be removing the speaker, then you will be needing a 10mm socket on a ratchet or a battery operated impact, but that's not what we're doing today. We're just removing the door panel, so let's get right into it. We're going to begin on the inside of the door by removing this little pop clip, and you just do that by pushing in the middle very gently. And then, because I have fingernails, I like to just grab around and pull it out that way. Another trick is, without scratching it, just be careful, is that you can actually use 2 pocket pry bars to grab underneath it and pull up. Spider, what are you doing? Go away, don't, get off. Okay, we're gonna pull this out and set this aside. And moving over to the handle here, we're gonna look for the hidden screw. And you can see that there's a little door here, right behind the door handle. I'm just gonna use my pocket pry bar, my little pocket screwdriver to pry that open. And behind there, we'll find our first Phillips screw. Next, we have another screw hidden behind this little panel. All right, and lastly, we're gonna be removing this little piece right here. And to do that, I just like to grab around the outside edge here. This part's a little bit brittle, so I'm gonna try to get my fingers around here and just, grab onto this portion as best as I possibly can to pull forward. I've broken this part before by sort of yanking on this part. So quite often you're gonna have these clips not come off with this piece here. So you're gonna wanna pull off each one of these little clips individually after you get this little triangle trim piece here removed. I'll just, with my little fingernails, grab each one of these and pull them out ever so gently, and put them back where they're supposed to go. It is much harder to put this piece back in without these clips installed on the triangle section first. All right, and now we're actually just gonna take the door panel off. And I just like to use my hands for this. Some people will use trim tools, and that's perfectly acceptable. I'll show you some of those tools later. But I just like to get my fingers underneath the bottom of the door here and brace the door with my leg and then just pull towards me. Now, once you feel like they're all free, which it looks like these are all free, the door will just lift up like so. The door panel will just lift up like so. And then we've got electrical connectors to unplug. You can see we got this one right here. And this has a push tab that you push on the bottom to pull it out. So there's that tab right there that you're gonna be pushing down to release that connector from the door card. And voila, that is all. So while this door card is off, actually, let's talk about a few things. First of all, these are the clips that you're gonna be fighting against when you're pulling that door panel off. So you can see that they're mostly just along the outside. Actually, they're all along the outside. There's none in the middle. And actually, this is the passenger side one. They're pretty similar, aside from the fact that the driver's side has a master switch. And the passenger side here has 2 switches, one for the lock and one for the window. Also, take a look at this. Look at how this switch plate is installed. We've got a little tab here, and look at this. This is totally designed so that you can pull it out without taking the door panel out. You could just put a trim tool up in here and pop this whole thing out. Now, that being said though, how easy is it to remove this door panel and then you're not gonna cause any exterior damage? So just some things to note while we're back here. All right, so here's an example of a bunch of different styles of trim tools. Obviously, the bigger one would probably be better for the door panel. Really what you want to use is something that's going to be a softer material than the panel itself and the metal door. You just don't want to scratch it. So I wouldn't use something like this on the door, obviously, because you don't want to leave any scratch marks there. Really, any of these plastic ones would be totally fine. Also, if you happen to break a clip, don't stress out. We all do. They've been through a ton of heat. They're old. It happens. This is my drawer of clips. Things I've purchased, things I've saved off of junk cars or junk parts. And I don't know, it's always good to make sure that you've got a backup. So you may recognize these from the trim panel clips inside the door. So yeah, I got a ton of them. Also even have more over here. So here we have the Toy to Factory clips for that little triangle section. Actually, here's the part number right there, but I will link these all in the description below. And then here are those little clips that are on the inside of the door panel, like about one per side. And I don't know if you noticed, but actually one of those was broken. One of these little feet was missing. So I'm going to go ahead and replace both of these today so that we've got, some good clips. And let's see, here's the part number for those. Yeah, I'm just a huge proponent of having all this stuff on hand, like way more than you ever need, because stuff like this gets broken all the time. And this is something that I always include in that like sort of miscellaneous hardware charge that's, just a few dollars that I tack on to every bill so that I have the luxury of being able to replace any of these if they break, or replace them if they were broken before they even came in. And then that way I nor the customer suffers for this, dumb little stuff like that. And I don't have to call them up and be like, hey, I'm going to charge you a few more dollars on top of your bill because I broke some of these clips. It's like, nah, it's already expected in the bill and it's already sort of built in as part of my labor cost. All right, installation of this door panel is pretty much just the reverse of removal, so super freaking easy. One thing I recommend though is before you go ahead and put the door panel back on, just plug in and double check whatever you worked on. So if you installed a speaker or if you replaced a door regulator, just quickly go ahead and put that vehicle in accessory mode, plug in whatever it is, and just check and make sure that it works. What I have noticed on these is that they're pretty forgiving. Those little clips are pretty forgiving, like the first 2 to 3 times that you remove the door panel. However, once you get into higher numbers, 5, 6, 7, they tend to break. So you really don't want to break it. You don't want to have to take the door panel off more times than you have to. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that connector plugged in and then hang the door panel and get it back installed. And when I say hang the door panel, what I mean is this little edge right here is gonna hang on this portion of the metal part of the door itself. So I'm just gonna go ahead and line that up all the way across and get it settled into place. All right, and I'll check to make sure that it's in place by pushing down out on the top and then just making sure that my little trim clips line up with the holes that are in the body. So here's what I'm looking at right here. You can see there is this hole in the body made to accept this clip, and I can tell that is lining up perfectly. I'm also gonna check the other side just to make sure. And here we can see that body hole and that clip lining up perfectly. So I feel good about this. Also, this is a little bit harder to show on camera, but I can see that this screw hole right here is lined up, as is this screw hole right here. So you can see that yellow clip behind that screw is going to thread into lines up perfectly as well. So I know that I've got this door panel installed properly. Now that I feel confident that I've got it installed in the proper place, I'm just going to go ahead and smack it all the way around and seat those clips into place. So now I've got my big silver screw with my number 2 screwdriver. This is for that door handle area. And then this smaller screw for the door release. And then closing up both their little doors. And then we got this little guy. To install this one, you actually are gonna pop it back up like so that these little feet can sort of squeeze into that empty space. And there we go. And lastly, we have this piece. So just lining up our little tabs with the 3 little tabs here. Gently pressing it into place. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, awesome. Stick around and I will see you next week with another video. Bye. I want to show everybody your ugly comb. So shameful. Look at that hideous comb. What is that on your head? What is that, Pollo? And do you even have wattles? Where? Oh. Is that a wattle? Oh, goodness. So shameful. Oh, Pollo. So shameful. Good little Roo, though. A good little Roo. Such a good little Roo.